The highway stretched endlessly through the desert, a black ribbon of asphalt swallowed by the night. Jake and Emily had been driving for hours, their rental car humming steadily beneath the starless sky. They were heading back from a weekend trip, a last-minute detour through the old back roads of Nevada that Jake had insisted would save time. It hadn't. They hadn't seen another car in over an hour, nor a single road sign since the sun dipped below the horizon. The GPS on Jake's phone kept flickering, cycling between no service and recalculating, until finally it went blank. Emily leaned her head against the window, watching nothing but darkness beyond the glass. Her voice was quiet when she spoke. "We're running low on gas." Jake glanced at the gauge. The needle hovered just above E. "There's gotta be something soon," he muttered. "One of those 24-hour places. They're everywhere." But there weren't any. Not here. Not on this stretch of road that wasn't marked on any map. 10 more minutes passed. Then 20. Emily started to fidget. "Jake, I mean it. We're almost empty." Before he could answer, a faint glow appeared ahead. A soft orange hue on the horizon, like the promise of salvation. A sign came into view, flickering weakly in the dark. "Miller's Gas and Rest. 2 miles. See?" Jake grinned. "Told you. We're fine." Emily exhaled shakily, tension easing just a little. 2 miles later they saw it. A small, old-fashioned gas station sitting at a bend in the road. A single streetlight buzzed above the pumps. The neon sign in the window blinked open in tired red letters. Jake pulled in, gravel crunching under the tires. The lights inside the building were dim, but the air smelled faintly of gasoline and dust. He stepped out and reached for the pump. Click. Nothing. He tried again. Click. The pump didn't engage. "Hello?" he called. "Anyone here?" A faint rustle came from inside the station. The sound of movement. Emily opened her door. "Jake, I don't like this. Let's just..." He waved her off. "It's fine. Probably just some old guy asleep in there." He walked toward the building. The door creaked open slowly, announcing his arrival with a bell that jangled once, then fell silent. The air inside was cold. Unnaturally so. A layer of dust coated everything. The shelves of faded snacks, the cooler with its dark glass, the counter with an old cash register perched like a relic from another time. "Hello?" he called again. No answer. He noticed the faint smell of oil, and something else underneath it. Something sour. Then, a sound. Footsteps behind him. He spun around. No one. He frowned, heart thudding faster. When he turned back toward the counter, something had changed. A door behind the register was now slightly open, just enough to reveal darkness beyond. "Hello?" Jake repeated, voice shaking now. The silence pressed against him. Then from the dark behind that door came the faintest whisper. "Need gas?" Jake froze. Yeah. Yeah, we..." The door creaked wider by itself. And from the shadow stepped a man. He looked ordinary at first. Dusty overalls, thinning gray hair, a name tag so faded Jake couldn't read it. But his eyes, they didn't look right. They seemed clouded, like he hadn't blinked in years. "Pump's out back," the man said. His voice was dry, like paper tearing. "Use that one." Jake nodded slowly. "Thanks." He turned, eager to leave, but the man's voice stopped him again. "You'll need to pay first." Jake hesitated. "How much?" The man smiled faintly. "Whatever it costs." Jake backed toward the door. Outside, Emily was waiting, eyes wide. "Who was that?" she asked. "Attendant," Jake said, trying to sound casual. "Said there's another pump out back." Emily looked past him toward the shadowed side of the building. There was nothing there but blackness. "Jake, there is no back." He frowned, took a few steps to check. But when he turned the corner, his stomach dropped. She was right. There was no rear section, no second pump. Just an unbroken wall of corrugated metal, stretching into darkness. And yet, he could hear it. The faint mechanical rhythm of a fuel pump running somewhere behind that wall. A sudden knock on the car window made Emily jump. Jake turned and saw the same man standing by her window, smiling through the glass. He hadn't made a sound walking there. "Everything all right?" Jake called. The man tilted his head. "You said you needed gas." "Yeah, but—" "Then fill up," the man interrupted. His smile didn't move his eyes. "It's waiting." Jake glanced toward the pump beside their car and blinked. It was running. The meter ticked upward slowly, fuel gurgling as if someone had already started it. But the nozzle was still in place. Emily's voice trembled. "Jake, can we please go?" He nodded and turned back to the man. But he was gone. Vanished. The air felt heavier suddenly. The buzzing light above them flickered, dimmed, then flared to full brightness again. In that brief pulse of light, Jake saw something in the reflection of the station window. Not just their car. Behind it, where the road should have been empty, there was another vehicle parked. A rusted blue pickup truck. Engine off, headlights dead. Inside it sat 3 people, all of them motionless, all of them staring straight ahead. Jake's breath caught. He blinked, and the truck was gone. "That's it," he said. "We're leaving." He jumped into the driver's seat, turned the key. Nothing. He tried again. Louder. Still nothing. The dashboard lights flickered and died. Outside, the buzzing streetlight gave one final flicker and went dark. For a few seconds, there was nothing but silence. Then, crunching closer, Emily whispered, "He's out there." Jake didn't answer. He reached for the flashlight in the glove box, clicked it on. The beam landed on the gas pump. It was no longer attached to the car. The hose hung loose, coiled like a snake. The numbers on the pump screen were frozen. Emily began to cry softly. "Jake, please." A hand slapped against her window. She screamed. Jake turned the flashlight toward it. But there was no one there. Only a smear of dark liquid on the glass, glistening like oil. He looked at the driver's mirror, and his blood ran cold. Behind the car, the gas station wasn't a building anymore. It was gone. In its place stood an open field, stretching endlessly into the night. No pumps, no light, no sign. Just the faint echo of a voice, drifting on the wind, the same dry whisper as before. "You'll need to pay first." Jake slammed the accelerator. The car roared to life, tires screeching against the dirt. They sped into the night, hearts hammering, until the station, or whatever it was, vanished in the rear view. Hours later, they saw headlights ahead, a police car parked on the shoulder. Jake pulled over, shaking. The officer stepped out, shining a flashlight into their car. "You folks all right?" he asked. Jake exhaled in relief. "Thank God." "Yeah, we stopped at a gas station up the road, and—" The officer frowned. "What gas station?" "Miller's, just a few miles back." The officer looked at him strangely. "Son, There's no gas station for 40 miles in either direction. Jake's face went pale. No, I saw it. The lights. The man. The officer shook his head slowly. Miller's burned down in 1997. He lowered the flashlight slightly. Family was trapped inside. Never found their bodies. Jake swallowed hard, unable to speak. The officer took a step back, eyes narrowing. Hey, you two might want to get out of the car for a second. Jake frowned. Why? The officer pointed at their side mirror. Because your backseat's dripping something. Jake turned. There, slumped in the rear seat, were three figures, motionless. Their faces pale, their clothes burned and torn. The same three from the truck. And from somewhere behind them, in a voice dry as ash, came a whisper. Told you? You'd have to pay. The night highway was nearly empty, a silver thread cutting through a black horizon. Rain whispered against the windshield, wipers keeping time like a metronome of nerves. Alex had been driving since dusk, heading back to the city after a client meeting ran late. It was 2:13 a.m., and his eyelids felt like lead. To stay awake, he reached for the radio knob. Click. Static filled the car, followed by the tail end of a country song. He flicked through the frequencies. 95.7, 97.2, 98.4, all fuzz and whispers. Then one channel came through, crystal clear. 99.9 FM, a man's calm, even voice. Good evening, listeners. You're tuned in to Radio 19.9, the only voice that keeps you company when no one else is around. Alex frowned. He didn't remember this station. The host continued. Tonight's traffic update. Just one traveler on the northbound highway, silver sedan, license plate ending in 496. Alex's stomach dropped. That was his plate. He gave a nervous laugh. Coincidence. Probably a local prank station. Still, his hands tightened on the wheel. The voice went on, smooth as oil. Careful, driver. Road's slick tonight. You've been swerving a little. Alex glanced at the rearview mirror. Nothing but darkness. He switched the radio off. Click. Silence. After a moment, he turned it back on. Partly out of curiosity, partly unease. Static. Then, "Welcome back, Alex." His breath caught. "You shouldn't drive tired," the host murmured. "That's how accidents happen." He pulled over fast, tires hissing against wet asphalt. Heart pounding, he scanned the roadside. No headlights behind him. No cars ahead. Only the low hum of his idling engine. He turned the radio knob again. Nothing. Dead air. 5 minutes later, a pair of headlights appeared in the distance. A pickup truck. Relief flooded him. He pulled back onto the road and followed the taillights, keeping his distance. The radio crackled softly again. "You shouldn't follow him, Alex." His throat went dry. "Who are you?" he muttered. The voice ignored him. "He's not going where you think." The truck suddenly signaled right. A narrow gravel road cutting into the woods. The truck didn't slow down. It veered hard and disappeared. Alex hesitated, then stopped by the entrance. The radio whispered again. "Now you've lost him." He turned the radio off. For good this time. Or so he thought. From the speaker came a faint sound. Not a voice, but a recorded playback. His own voice. "Who are you?" He slammed the brakes. The recording repeated. Slower this time. Distorted. "Who are you? Are you?" He unplugged the radio fuse under the dash. The sound cut out. Silence again. But through the rain, another noise began. faint, rhythmic, growing clearer. He froze. Someone was tapping on his driver's side window. He turned slowly. A man's silhouette in a raincoat, face obscured by darkness. Alex cracked the window an inch. "Hey, you okay out here?" The man didn't answer. He raised a hand and held something up, a small radio earpiece. "You dropped this," the man said. Alex frowned. "That's not mine. It was on your back seat." Alex's head whipped around. The back seat was empty. When he turned back, the man was gone. Only rain and wind. He locked the doors and floored the gas. He drove another 20 minutes before spotting a rest stop. Dim lights, vending machines, one car parked near the restroom. He stepped out, shaking, and went inside to splash water on his face. When he returned, his car door was open. The radio was on, 99.9 FM. "Almost home now, Alex," the voice said softly. "Just one more turn." He turned toward the sound and saw movement in the rear seat. A shape crouched low, something metallic in its hand. He lunged back, slammed the door, and ran toward the other car, shouting for help. The other driver, a trucker, came running, flashlight in hand. By the time they looked inside, the back seat was empty. No one, only the radio, still playing faintly. "Two travelers on the highway tonight," the voice said. "Only one still breathing." Alex stared at the radio in horror. "It's some sick prank," he said. The trucker's face went pale. "Kid, that station's been off the air for 10 years. Alex shook his head. "No, you don't get it. It's not supernatural. Someone's watching me. They hacked my car audio or something." He yanked the fuse out again, ripped the power cable loose. The voice continued anyway, faint but clear. "Don't bother, Alex. You're not the listener." The trucker frowned. "Then who is?" From behind them, a cell phone began to ring. Alex's blood turned to ice. He didn't recognize the phone. It wasn't his. It was lying on his driver's seat. The screen cracked, displaying one incoming call. 99.9 FM. The highway at night has its own kind of silence. Not peaceful, but hollow. The kind that hums just beyond the reach of the headlights, where shadows don't move unless you start to imagine they do. Ethan drove through that silence. The hum of his tires was the only sound, steady and hypnotic. He'd been on the road since sunset, leaving a construction site 2 states over. Coffee gone cold, eyes heavy, phone dead. The dashboard clock glowed 1:47 a.m. He told himself he'd stop at the next town, but the next town never came. Up ahead, a pair of taillights cut through the dark. Small, distant flickering red dots. He felt a strange comfort just knowing someone else was out there. He sped up slightly to close the gap. The car ahead was an old sedan, dull silver, moving steady in the right lane. As he approached, he glanced at it in his side mirror. Something looked off. The driver's silhouette, tall, rigid, didn't move. No shift of the hands, no tilt of the head, just stillness. Then, as Ethan drew closer, the sedan's brake lights flashed suddenly. The car swerved slightly before returning to its lane. Ethan muttered, "All right, easy, buddy." He eased past the car, not daring to look over, and when he did finally glance into his rearview mirror, the sedan's headlights were gone. Like it had blinked out of existence. 10 minutes later, those same dull headlights appeared behind him again. The sedan was back. Ethan gripped the wheel tighter. Maybe it had just slowed down before. but the distance between them shrank too quickly. Soon the car was following so close he couldn't see its front bumper. He tapped his brakes once. A warning. The sedan mimicked him. He changed lanes. The sedan did the same. He turned down a service road. The sedan followed. He turned again into a narrow dirt lane lined by trees. Still there, the road ended in a clearing. Ethan stopped, threw open his door, and stepped out. Door slam. "Hey, you got a problem?" No answer. The headlights from the other car stayed fixed on him. He couldn't see the driver. He took one cautious step forward. The sedan's engine revved, and the lights went out. Just blackness. When his eyes adjusted, the car was gone. He stood in the middle of the road, heart hammering. Then from behind him, a deafening blast. He spun around, but there was no car, only his own headlights staring back at him. Back inside the vehicle, he locked the doors and drove fast, desperate to find another car, a house, anything. Every few seconds, he checked his mirrors. Left, right, center. All clear. But in one glance, he caught something that froze his blood. In the rearview mirror, just barely visible through the back window, was a shape. Someone sitting in his back seat. He whipped his head around. Empty. Looked back to the mirror. Still there. The shape leaned forward. A voice, low and close, whispered, "Objects in the mirror are closer than they appear." Ethan swerved violently off the road. The car shuddered to a stop in a ditch. He stumbled out, breathing hard, scanning the seats. No one there. The rear window was cracked. His reflection stared back at him from the mirror. Distorted, split. He sat on the roadside, trying to steady his breathing. The silence pressed in, heavier than before. Then he heard it. Faint but clear, from inside his car. The hazard lights were flashing by themselves. He reached in through the open window to switch them off, and caught a glimpse of something hanging from the rear view mirror. A small, blood-stained keychain. One he didn't own. A metal tag engraved with 2 numbers, 47. By dawn, Ethan found a small gas station near the highway. He stumbled inside, pale and trembling. "You okay, man?" the clerk asked. Ethan nodded weakly. "Someone was following me. Old silver sedan. Nearly ran me off the road." The clerk frowned. "You sure about that? State police found a wrecked sedan a few miles up. Been there for days." Ethan's face drained of color. "Days?" "Yeah. They said the driver must have fallen asleep. Happened last week." The clerk grabbed a newspaper and slid it across the counter. Front page. "Local driver killed in highway crash. Vehicle found in ditch." The photo showed the same stretch of road Ethan had come from. And the car in the picture, dented front bumper, shattered headlight, was his. He stumbled outside, shaking his head. His car sat where he'd left it, dew gathering on the windshield. But something shimmered faintly in the side mirror. A figure sitting in the back seat, still, watching. He turned quickly. Empty. Looked back at the mirror. The figure smiled. Then his car radio crackled to life. "Good morning, listeners. This is the Highway Patrol update. Single vehicle collision near Route 47. Driver pronounced dead at the scene." The voice paused, then added softly, "Remember, folks, objects in the mirror may be closer than they appear."